Hi, this is Gamer for Fun and welcome to my first video review. In honor of Pokemon's 20th birthday, I will be doing a 20 years later review. So stick around and enjoy. Pokémon Red and Blue version were originally released in Japan as Pocket Monsters Red and Green the 27th of February 1996, and is a role-playing video game published by Nintendo for the then old Game Boy. They're known as Pokémon Red and Blue in North America, Europe and Australia. Pokémon Yellow, a special edition version, was released roughly a year later. As a kid I had two purple Game Boy colors with Pokémon Blue, Yellow and later Gold. I don't remember if I got Pokémon Blue or Zelda Link's Awakening first, but I have definitely had more fun memories with the Pokémon games. The story in the Pokémon games has never been very advanced or groundbreaking. With the exception of a few later games trying to add some new plot twist, the story has always been that a 10-year-old boy, and later girl, start on a journey to become a Pokémon champion and to catch them all. In Pokémon Blue, the hero, known as Red, gets his first Pokémon from Pallet Town's Pokémon professor, Professor Oak. The player can choose between 3 different starter Pokémon to accompany on his journey: Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle. Here you also meet your rival Blue. Throughout the journey you're traveling from town to town, challenging gym leaders and winning badges to compete in the Pokémon League. Along the way you meet new Pokémon. In the original games there were 151, and you're also battling other trainers and wild Pokémon that you could catch and train to become stronger. The main villains in the original Pokémon games was Team Rocket, a criminal organization run by Giovanni, who wanted to use Pokémon in criminal activities to take over the world, and it was your job as the player to stop him. After you have collected all the 8 gym badges, you could challenge the Elite Four, which is a group of very strong Pokémon trainers, to become the champion and be a part of the Hall of Fame. After that you start in your hometown again and could continue to catch other Pokémon, or try the endgame where you could catch the world's strongest Pokémon, Mewtwo. The story gives the player enough motivation to go through the game, with the main attraction being that you can see and catch all the Pokémon. Since the original Game Boy could not output colors, only 4 shades of grey, and was an 8-bit system, the graphics and gameplay had to be simplified. Later, the Game Boy Color could use red and blue shades on the Pokémon games. Drawing inspiration from the Final Fantasy's combat system, the gameplay was quite deep and advanced. The battle system is very easy to understand, yet really deep if you want to. It's similar to early Final Fantasy games, with a general overworld and a turn-based battle mode when you meet wild Pokémon or Pokémon trainers. And in almost every town or city you can find Pokémon centers and Pokémon marts, where you can rest and heal your wounded Pokémon, or buy potions and different Pokéballs to catch new and better Pokémon. Compared to the new games, the originals are more slow-paced, since the running shoes from later games is not present in this game. The only way to get faster from point A to point B is to get on a bicycle or use fly with a Pokémon. One playthrough could last you from 20 to 50 hours, more if you intended to catch them all, and if you wanted to see and catch all the Pokémons you had to have 2 Game Boys, a copy of each game, red, blue or yellow, and a link cable to trade the version specific Pokémon with friends. The link cable is one of the main reasons the original Pokémon games were so successful. Remember, this was before wireless communication and the internet was mainstream in gaming. Let's be clear, compared to today's standards, the original graphic has not aged well over 20 years. With the original 4 shades of grey and later red and blue shades on Game Boy Color, it's not the best looking game, even by Game Boy standards. But the gameplay is so rock solid that it doesn't matter, or did in 96 to 98, how the graphic was. The environment was as detailed as a grayscale 8-bit system could handle and looked good. Personally, I think it still does, even if it's simple. The battle sequence environments are non-existing, just a white-grey background and the Pokémon name, life bar and level, as well as the Pokémon sprite. The Pokémon themselves looks good, but the Pokémon sprites are a bit pixelated due to the graphic limitations of the Game Boy. The world of Kanto has its charm, at least if you play on a Game Boy Color, and the locations is full of life and NPCs. The Red and Green, or Blue games, has been remade for the Game Boy Advance as Pokémon Fire Red and Leaf Green. This was released in 2004 and has the original story, Pokémon and locations, but with the power of the new hardware in the Game Boy Advance. The original Game Boy hardware wasn't very advanced when it came to the graphics or in the sound department. The little mono speaker delivered okay sound, but if the game supported stereo audio, you can use headphones from the audio output to get stereo sound. The 4 channels of sound available on the Game Boy kicked into overdrive when playing Pokémon Red and Pokémon Blue, which shows off the excellent job the creators did when the game was originally released. The music in the game is excellent, even though it's not very advanced, but catching tunes from the game is still being used in some ways in the later games. Different areas, town and caves have their own recognizable sound, as well as some keys and NPC. All the Pokémon also had their own battle cry. The game is 20 years old and it shows. The sound and graphics is very outdated compared to today's standards, but the gameplay and the addicting collecting mechanics still hold strong. The story in the Pokémon games has never been its strong side, and today's Pokémon games still uses the same formula. If you want to experience the original Pokémon story as a first-time player to the Pokémon games, or want to relive all memories, I want to recommend the remakes from 2004 on Game Boy Advance, Leaf Green and Fire Red. This is because the later gameplay mechanics from Gold, Silver and Crystal, as well as Ruby and Sapphire, has been implemented into the remake, which make the experience much smooth and fun. The graphic engine from Ruby and Sapphire has made the game look very good, and if you want to experience Kanto, this is the best way to do it. So yeah, the game has aged, and not well. But remember that 20 years ago this was revolutionary on handheld, and it has become one of Nintendo's biggest franchises. On the other hand, the gameplay, the addictive Pokémon collecting and replayability is still as good as then. Happy 20th birthday, Pokémon. May you continue for another 20 years. Thank you for watching my video. If you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I appreciate every like and comment, and more videos will be coming soon.